Me, Mario. Hello.
Preston can't play.
All right, and we are right back at it. Oh, well, right back at it for me anyway. With some Super Mario 64. I was talking about. No. Fuck. I was playing this 8 red coins
Mamma mia.
challenge level stage, whatever. I think during our last session of Super Mario 64, and it was giving me an equal amount of trouble. So that's a little pissy, but we're gonna do it. I mean, I know where all the red coins are. That's half the challenge. The bigger challenge is coming down off the top in a way that I don't fall to my death. Yeah, so we're getting ready for Nightmarathon, as I was talking about in the last episode. I was quite pleased with myself on my successful speedy runtime of Silent Hill. What else am I doing for Nightmarathon? I'm going to be doing Castlevania Dracula X, which is challenging in the sense that the play control is kind of shit for a Super Nintendo game, particularly. It's kind of a... I didn't learn this until pretty recently, but Castlevania Dracula X for Super Nintendo is actually a pretty bad port of Castlevania Bloodlines. No, Castlevania Rondo of Blood, which was a Genesis game, and I have seen some footage. I was like weirdly like not into Sega Genesis when I was growing up. Like there was a couple games that I really liked. I kind of liked playing Sonic, and I liked the Disney's Aladdin tie-in game on Sega Genesis. I thought was much better than that Super Nintendo game. And I really liked Eternal Champions, the fighting game. Ah! Oh, thank God. Even though I'm not much of a fighting game, I just liked its weird, like, comic fantasy style. But when I found out, I was like weirdly bitter because I was like really into Castlevania growing up. It was one of my favorite franchises on the Nintendo. And when I found out there was a Castlevania game on Genesis, I was like really bitter. Like I was like, I'm not fucking playing that. Like if it's Castlevania, it's not on Nintendo, then I'll pass. It's got to be shit. And I just was like weirdly territorial about it. Yeah, but now in the past like year, I've actually learned about it and seen some gameplay footage. It actually looks, I mean, I'm not like breaking news here, but in my opinion, I completely agree that it looks way better than Dracula X. But it's different. It's different enough that I would say that they're kind of different games. It's just like, you know, they sort of tell a similar story in a worse way, and I think they had to dumb it down for the Super Nintendo. I don't know if it was like a limitations thing or what, but it's like such a lesser version. Fucking finally, give me that star. Yeah. So I'd love to play that at some point, but I have Dracula X. I'm familiar with Dracula X. At this point, I can play through it, and I have a strategy to beat Dracula. I haven't actually done it yet. And I'll tell you why. Because the strategy that I have for beating Dracula at the end, it finishes off in a way that's pretty cheap. And I got to that point. I practice and practice and practice. I actually got to a point where I can get through, for the most part, I can get through the Dracula fight pretty easily. But I didn't want to take the cheap way out. I wanted, what am I doing? Red coins. Fuck. All these red coins. Jesus. Excuse me. I didn't want to take the cheap way out. I wanted to power him. And I ended up losing. So I'm going to, when I go back, and I've been focusing more on run time. I'm pretty confident at this point in my ability to actually get through Castlevania Dracula X. So I've been focusing a lot more on playing through and practicing the longer games, slash the games that I'm not so familiar with and are actually more of a challenge, to get those presentable. Because I think that in the long run, to get it like show ready, Castlevania Dracula X is going to be the easiest one. The red coin's here. Yeah, give me that red coin, please. Yeah, that's fine. I'll take the hit. So Castlevania Dracula X is one that I'm doing, and I quite enjoy it. It's a lot of fun, actually. I don't want that. And I am playing Rule of Rose. That's another one that's like a longer survival horror game. Now, I just recently beat Rule of Rose for the first time, and it took me 10 years. Now, that's not 10 years of playing consecutively. I started a game file 10 years ago, and then I like sat on it. I got to a point where there was a boss. There's a mermaid boss. If you don't know the game, I'm not gonna go into great detail. But if you're familiar with the game, the mermaid boss, or the mermaid princess, I think she's actually called, got me hung up. It's very hard. Definitely the hardest boss in the game. The game is challenging because it's intentionally like the like play control is intentionally really difficult. So there's this era, right, of like PlayStation 2 survival horror games when they sort of they give you control of characters that aren't like, that are sort of like regular people. Like Silent Hill is like you're playing just like regular folks who are not in the business. They're not like trained or anything like in Resident Evil. So you know, they're poor shots and they don't have a lot of mobility and stuff like that. How do I fucking... There we go. Good. That's great. And Rule of Rose is like that to a T. So Rule of Rose, you control like a 12/16-year-old girl. And she's just this like little British young girl. So she's she's you know, she's very like, she's scared, and I guess that thing is just there to hurt me. There we go. So the real challenge of the game comes in the way that you know, she doesn't really move very well, and am I supposed to go in here? I guess not. All right, where's that last red coin? It's gotta be at the bottom. There it is. She moves really slow and she attacks really slow. Give that to me, please. And that's up there. Great. And that's where the challenge is. So It's not a super long game, but there's a lot of exploring that you can do. That's where a lot of the time comes in. So I got to dial in my path and getting through challenges, man. Like the actual combat that is mandatory, it's tedious and it's difficult. So I just got to get that dialed in. And then the last one that I'm playing is the I've mentioned on the show before. I'm playing the NES Nightmare on Elm Street. I used to play that a lot when I was a kid, actually. I used to always have my parents rent it from the video store. And I never got it. I never understood what the hell you were supposed to be doing or how the game worked. I just really enjoyed playing it. I never even watched the movies. I'm like completely unfamiliar with what it is that I'm watching when I play that game. Although my understanding is that the game doesn't really have much to do at all with the movie. Like it sort of draws from Nightmare on Elm Street 3, The Dream Warriors, which I've heard a lot of people say is their least favorite. Fuck. But I think it's fun, and now that I've returned to it as an adult, I do enjoy it. It's hard because, again, because it's a bad NES game. It's a clunky like LJN, excuse me, game. But it's kind of fun. I actually kind of like it. All right, so we'll continue this on the next episode of Preston Can't Play. Everybody send Ton some love, and we hope he gets better soon. / has a seamless move into his new place. Bye, everybody.
Preston Can't Play. Continue.